shadows lurked in the midnight mist of Venice, where a forbidden carnival promised ecstasy, but delivered doom. A masked figure collapsing mid-dance, poisoned whispers echoing through the canals. Welcome to the Black Carnival, a dance with death, a Hercule Poirot mystery that twists fate into terror. Grab a cup of tea, take a seat, and let the suspense unfold. If you're hooked on this tale, subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us. Chapter 1. The invitation to shadows in the heart of Venice, where the Grand Canal gleamed like a serpent under the moonlit sky. The city pulsed with an unusual fever. It was the season of Carnival, but this year whispered rumors spoke of something darker, a secret event known only as the Black Carnival. Invitations arrived in black envelopes sealed with crimson wax, bearing no sender's name, only a cryptic emblem of a dancing skeleton. Hercule Poirot, the renowned Belgian detective, with his impeccably waxed moustache and piercing grey eyes, received one such missive at his modest hotel suite. He had come to Venice for a quiet retreat, escaping the clamour of London, but fate, as always, had other plans. "Mon ami," Poirot murmured to himself, turning the envelope in his manicured hands. "What little game is this?" The card inside read simply, "Join the dance with death. Midnight. Palazzo Nero." No address, no details, yet Poirot's little grey cells tingled with curiosity. He adjusted his bow tie, slipped on his overcoat, and ventured into the fog-shrouded streets, where gondolas bobbed like silent witnesses. As Poirot navigated the labyrinthine alleys, the air grew thick with the scent of salt water and impending rain. Masked revellers in elaborate costumes brushed past him, harlequins with jingling bells, courtesans in flowing silks, but none seemed aware of the Black Carnival. He paused at a bridge, consulting a discreet map he'd procured from his hotel concierge. Palazzo Nero, an ancient mansion long abandoned after a scandalous murder decades ago, loomed at the city's edge, its windows like empty eyes staring into the void. Why revive such a haunted place for a festivity? Poirot pondered, his mind racing through possibilities. A prank, a trap, or perhaps a genuine enigma begging to be unravelled. He hailed a water taxi, the boatman eyeing him warily. "Palazzo Nero? Signore, that's no place for the living after dark," the man warned. But Poirot insisted, tipping generously. The journey across the lagoon felt eternal, waves lapping against the hull like hushed secrets. Upon arrival, the palazzo's grand doors creaked open under torchlight, revealing a courtyard transformed into a surreal wonderland. Black tents billowed like raven wings, adorned with silver stars and macabre decorations, skulls entwined with roses, mirrors reflecting distorted faces. Guests mingled in anonymity, their masks ranging from elegant Venetian boaters to grotesque death's heads. Soft music from a hidden orchestra played a haunting waltz, drawing couples to a central dance floor paved with ebony marble. Poirot, donning a simple black domino mask he'd brought along, blended into the crowd. He observed keenly a tall man in a plague doctor's beak, laughing boisterously with a woman in a blood-red gown, a cluster of aristocrats whispering behind fans, servants gliding about with trays of absinthe-laced cocktails. The atmosphere was electric, charged with forbidden thrill, yet an undercurrent of unease prickled Poirot's skin. This is no ordinary carnival, he thought. It is a stage set for tragedy. His suspicions deepened when a hush fell over the assembly. A figure emerged on a balcony overlooking the courtyard, a host shrouded in a hooded cloak, face obscured by shadow. "Welcome, seekers of the night!" the voice boomed, deep and resonant, echoing off the stone walls. "Tonight we dance with death itself. Let inhibitions fall, for in the Black Carnival secrets die, or live forever." Applause rippled through the crowd, but Poirot noted the forced enthusiasm in some eyes. Who was this enigmatic host, and why the emphasis on death? He sidled up to a nearby guest, a portly gentleman in a jester's outfit, and inquired casually, "Pardon, monsieur, but do you know our gracious host?" The man chuckled nervously. "No one does, old chap. That's the allure. Mystery wrapped in peril." Last year's event ended with a vanishing act. A guest disappeared into thin air. Poirot's eyebrows arched. Disappeared? How intriguing. And no investigation? The jester shrugged. Rumors say it was staged, but who knows? Enjoy the night, detective. Or are you? Poirot masked his surprise. How did this stranger know his profession? Before he could probe further, the music swelled and the dance began in earnest. Couples swirled in hypnotic patterns, their movements graceful, yet frenzied, as if chasing oblivion. Poirot declined invitations to join, preferring to watch from the sidelines. That's when he spotted her. A young woman in a midnight blue gown, her mask adorned with peacock feathers, standing alone by a fountain. Her posture betrayed anxiety, hands twisting a lace handkerchief. Approaching with his signature charm, Poirot bowed slightly. "Mademoiselle, you seem troubled amidst such revelry. May Hercule Poirot be of assistance?" She started, her eyes widening behind the mask. "Poirot? The famous detective? Oh, thank heavens. I'm Elena Rossi, and I fear for my life tonight." Elena's story spilled out in hurried whispers. She was the daughter of a wealthy Venetian merchant, invited to the Black Carnival by an anonymous note that hinted at blackmail. It mentioned a family secret, something about my father's past dealings. I came to confront whoever sent it, but now I feel watched. Poirot nodded sympathetically, his mind cataloguing details. Blackmail? Family secrets. This carnival was indeed a web of intrigue. He promised to stay close, suggesting they mingle to draw out the culprit. As they moved through the throng, Poirot's keen eyes caught anomalies. A servant lingering too long near drinks, a masked figure slipping a vial into a pocket, hushed arguments in alcoves. The air grew heavier, laced with the metallic tang of anticipation. Suddenly, a scream pierced the night. The music halted abruptly, guests freezing in place. On the dance floor, a man in a golden lion mask clutched his throat, convulsing before collapsing in a heap. Chaos erupted, cries of horror, people scattering. Poirot rushed forward, kneeling beside the victim. No pulse, foam at the lips. Classic signs of poison. "Do not touch anything," he commanded, his voice cutting through the panic. The host reappeared on the balcony, urging calm. "A tragic accident, nothing more. The authorities will handle it." But Poirot stood, removing his mask. "Non, monsieur. This is no accident. It is murder, and Hercule Poirot will uncover the truth." As guards ushered the body away and the crowd murmured in shock, Poirot turned to Elena, who trembled beside him. "Mademoiselle, this dance with death has just begun. Stay vigilant." He scanned the faces around him, noting who fled, who lingered, who avoided his gaze. The Black Carnival's facade had cracked, revealing a deadly underbelly. What connected this victim to the host, to Elena, to the vanished guest from last year? Poirot's little grey cells whirred into overdrive, piecing together the puzzle. Little did he know, the night would unravel more threads, each leading deeper into a labyrinth of deception and danger. With the immediate frenzy subsiding, Poirot began his subtle inquiries, starting with the servants. A nervous youth named Marco admitted to serving the victim a special cocktail requested by the host. "It was marked with a black ribbon, signore. I thought nothing of it." Poirot pressed for more. Descriptions of suspicious guests, overheard conversations. Marco recalled a woman in red arguing with the lion-masked man earlier. Something about debts unpaid. Meanwhile, Elena provided context. Her father had enemies in high society, rivals who might orchestrate such an event. Poirot jotted mental notes, his methodical mind forming hypotheses. Poison in the drink, administered via sleight of hand, motive tied to financial ruin or revenge. As the chapter of introduction drew to a close, the palazzo's clock struck 1, the chimes ominous. Guests, though shaken, resumed tentative mingling, the orchestra striking up a somber tune. Poirot, ever the observer, positioned himself near the balcony, eyeing the host's shadowed form. "The game is afoot," he whispered. This first brush with death was merely the overture. Darker revelations awaited in the shadows ahead. Chapter 2. The Masked Motives. The Black Carnival pulsed on, its eerie glamour undimmed by the grim spectacle of death. Hercule Poirot, now fully alert, moved through the crowd like a silent predator, his sharp eyes scanning every gesture, every glance. The palazzo's courtyard, bathed in flickering torchlight, seemed to hum with secrets. Elena Rossi stayed close, her peacock feather mask glinting as she whispered, "Monsieur Poirot, I saw something odd before the scream." A man in a silver wolf mask slipping behind a tent. He carried a small case, like a doctor's. Poirot nodded, his mind cataloguing this new clue. A case could hold poison, a syringe, or worse. "Stay near, mademoiselle," he advised, guiding her toward the edge of the dance floor, where shadows offered cover. The air was thick with perfume and tension, the orchestra's mournful notes weaving through hushed conversations. Poirot's gaze settled on the woman in the blood-red gown he'd noticed earlier, now standing alone by a statue of a weeping angel. Her mask, adorned with black lace, couldn't hide her restless hands. Approaching with his disarming charm, Poirot bowed. "Madame, a tragic night, is it not? I am Hercule Poirot, and I seek to understand this misfortune." Her eyes flickered with suspicion, but she offered a tight smile. "Isabella Moretti," she replied, her voice low. "A misfortune, yes. That man, Lorenzo, was known to me. A gambler, always in debt." Poirot tilted his head. "Debt is a dangerous companion at such a carnival. Did he owe you, perhaps?" Isabella's laugh was sharp, like broken glass. "Not me, detective, others, powerful ones. He played with fire." Her words hung heavy, hinting at a motive. Poirot pressed gently, learning Lorenzo was a minor noble, charming but reckless, entangled with Venice's underworld. Isabella claimed ignorance of his enemies, but mentioned a heated exchange she'd overheard between Lorenzo and a man in a plague doctor's mask near the Absinthe Bar. They spoke of a shipment, something delayed, worth millions, she said, then excused herself, vanishing into the crowd. Poirot's little grey cells buzzed. A shipment? Smuggling, perhaps, or stolen goods. The Black Carnival was clearly a nexus for more than revelry. Turning his attention to the plague doctor, Poirot spotted the tall figure near a tent, his beak-like mask casting an eerie silhouette. The man was deep in conversation with a woman in a silver gown, her gestures agitated. Poirot edged closer, catching fragments. "You promised it would be clean. Now he's dead!" The plague doctor hissed. "Keep your voice down, Sophia. No one knows." Poirot memorized their faces, or what little he could see behind masks, before they parted. He needed more. Approaching a servant clearing glasses, he inquired about the plague doctor. The boy, sweating despite the cool night, stammered. "He's Signore Vittorio, a spice merchant." "Always here, always watching. A merchant with secrets," Poirot mused. Spice trade often masked darker dealings. Opium, perhaps, or worse. Elena tugged his sleeve, pointing to a shadowed alcove where the silver wolf-masked man reappeared, case in hand. Poirot moved swiftly, weaving through dancers, but the man was quick, disappearing into a side corridor. Following, Poirot found himself in a dimly lit hallway, lined with portraits of stern Venetian nobles, their eyes seeming to judge him. The corridor ended at a locked door, but a faint clink of metal echoed beyond. Kneeling, Poirot examined the lock. Fresh scratches suggested recent use. "Someone does not wish to be followed," he murmured. Returning to the courtyard, he found Elena speaking to a young man in a harlequin costume, his mask half raised to reveal a boyish face. "This is Carlo, my cousin," she explained. "He came to protect me." Carlo, nervous but earnest, shared that he'd infiltrated the carnival to watch over Elena after her blackmail threat. "I saw Lorenzo arguing with the host earlier," he confided. Up on the balcony before the dance started, Lorenzo looked furious, shouting about betrayal. Poirot's interest sharpened. The mysterious host, still cloaked in shadow, was emerging as a central figure. Was he orchestrating this deadly game? Poirot decided to investigate the balcony, leading Eleanor and Carlo through a side staircase. The narrow steps creaked underfoot, the air growing colder as they ascended. At the top, a velvet curtain concealed a small platform overlooking the revelry below. No host, but a discarded black glove lay on the floor, embroidered with the same dancing skeleton emblem as the invitation. Poirot pocketed the glove, his mind racing. The emblem tied the host to the invitations, perhaps to the murder. He scanned the crowd from the balcony, spotting Vittorio and Sophia whispering urgently, the woman tucking a sealed letter into her gown. Below, the orchestra shifted to a faster tempo, masks swirling in a dizzying dance. Poirot's gaze caught a flicker of movement. A servant, the same nervous Marco from earlier, slipping a small vial into his pocket while glancing nervously at Vittorio. "The web tightens," Poirot whispered. He instructed Elena and Carlo to stay hidden, promising to return after confronting Marco. Back in the courtyard, Poirot found Marco near the absinthe bar, his hands shaking as he polished glasses. "Young man," Poirot said softly, "you know more about Lorenzo's drink than you told me." Marco's eyes widened, his voice a whisper. "I didn't know it was poison, signore, the host. He gave me the vial, said it was a special tonic for Signore Lorenzo. I swear I thought it was harmless." Poirot's expression remained calm, but his mind raced. The host again. "Describe this vial," he pressed. Marco did, small, green, with a skull-shaped stopper. Poirot's memory sparked. Similar vials were used for rare poisons, like aconite, deadly in minutes. Marco, near tears, added, "The host said Lorenzo deserved it, for crossing him." Before Poirot could ask more, a second scream shattered the night. The crowd parted, revealing Isabella Moretti collapsed near the fountain, her red gown pooling like blood. Poirot rushed over, Carlo and Elena trailing. No pulse, same foam at the lips, another poisoning. The host's voice boomed from the balcony, urging calm, but Poirot's eyes locked on him. "Enough!" he called out, his voice carrying authority. "This is no carnival, it is a slaughterhouse!" Gasps rippled through the guests. The host vanished into the shadows, leaving Poirot to face a sea of masked faces, each hiding potential guilt. Elena clutched Carlo's arm, her voice trembling. 2 deaths now. "What if I'm next?" Poirot placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Mademoiselle, you are under my protection, but we must act swiftly." He noted Vittorio and Sophia whispering urgently, the silver wolf-masked man reappearing at the courtyard's edge, case still in hand. The clues were mounting. A blackmail note, a smuggler's shipment, a host with a deadly agenda, and a carnival where masks hid more than faces. Poirot's resolve hardened. He would unravel this tapestry of deceit. But time was slipping away, and death was a relentless partner in this dance. As the orchestra resumed, a defiant act against the horror, Poirot gathered his thoughts. The glove, the vial, the arguments, all pointed to a conspiracy rooted in the Black Carnival's heart. He needed to find the host, confront Vittorio, and track the Silver Wolf. The next move was critical, and the night was far from over. Chapter 3. The Trail of the Silver Wolf. The Black Carnival's veneer of festivity had shattered, replaced by a palpable dread that clung to the air like damp fog. Hercule Poirot stood resolute amidst the murmurs of the crowd, his mind a whirlwind of connections. Blackmail, poison, a mysterious host, and now 2 bodies. Elena Rossi and her cousin Carlo hovered nearby, their faces pale behind their masks. Poirot's gaze darted to the courtyard's edge, where the man in the silver wolf mask had last appeared, his enigmatic case a beacon of suspicion. "We must follow this wolf," Poirot declared softly, his voice steady despite the chaos. With a nod to Elena and Carlo to stay close, he set off, weaving through the throng of masked revelers, their whispers trailing him like ghosts. The silver wolf was elusive, slipping through the crowd like a shadow. Poirot tracked him past black tents and flickering torches, noting how the man glanced over his shoulder as if sensing pursuit. The chase led to a narrow archway at the palazzo's rear, where ivy clung to crumbling stone. The wolf paused, adjusting his grip on the case, then ducked into a dimly lit passage. Poirot followed, his polished shoes silent on the damp cobblestones. The passage twisted downward, the air growing musty, heavy with the scent of old wine and secrets. It opened into a subterranean chamber, its walls lined with dusty wine barrels and rusted candelabras. The wolf stood at a small table, opening his case to reveal vials, syringes, and papers, tools of a sinister trade. Poirot stepped forward, his voice cutting through the stillness. "Monsieur, a moment of your time for Hercule Poirot." The wolf spun, his mask glinting in the candlelight, but he didn't flee. Instead, he laughed, a low, guttural sound. The great detective sniffing about where he's not wanted. "I'm Dr. Matteo Grimaldi, physician. This," he gestured to the case, "is merely my medical kit." Poirot's eyes narrowed, unconvinced. A physician at a carnival of death carrying vials like those used to poison 2 souls tonight? "Non, monsieur. I think you play a darker role." Grimaldi's posture stiffened, but he offered a thin smile. "You're fishing, Poirot. I treat ailments, not create them. Ask the host. He knows my work." The mention of the host piqued Poirot's interest, but before he could press further, footsteps echoed behind them. Carlo burst into the chamber, breathless. "Monsieur Poirot, Elena, she's gone. She said she saw something near the fountain and ran off." Poirot's heart sank. Leaving Elena unguarded, even briefly, was a misstep. He fixed Grimaldi with a piercing stare. "Do not leave this palazzo, doctor. We will speak again." Turning, he hurried back with Carlo, the physician's mocking chuckle fading behind them. The courtyard was a frenzy of movement, dancers swirling as if to drown out the night's horrors. Poirot scanned for Elena's peacock feather mask, his pulse quickening. Near the fountain, he spotted a discarded lace handkerchief, Elena's. It lay beside a spilled glass, its contents staining the marble with a faint green hue. Aconite, Poirot thought, recognizing the poison's signature. He knelt, careful not to touch the liquid, and noticed faint footprints leading toward a garden gate. "Carlo, stay here and guard this spot," he instructed, then followed the trail alone. The gate opened to a moonlit garden, overgrown with thorny roses and statues of forgotten saints. There, Eleanor stood, trembling, facing the woman in the silver gown, Sophia. Her voice was sharp, accusing. "You knew about the blackmail, didn't you?" "My father's ruin! It's all tied to this carnival." Sophia's masked face was unreadable, but her hands clenched. "Eleanor, you're meddling in things you don't understand. Leave now, or you'll end up like Lorenzo and Isabella." Poirot stepped from the shadows, his presence startling both women. "Mademoiselle Sophia threats are unbecoming at a ball, and you, Mademoiselle Elena, must not wander alone." Sophia's eyes darted, but she composed herself. "I'm protecting my own interests, detective. Elena's father crossed dangerous people, smugglers, not carnival hosts. That's all I'll say." She turned to leave, but Poirot's voice stopped her. "The letter you received from Vittorio, what does it contain?" Sophia froze, then laughed bitterly. "Ask him yourself. He's in the East Wing, counting his profits." Poirot escorted Elena back to the courtyard, his mind racing. Sophia's words pointed to smuggling, corroborating Isabella's hint about a valuable shipment. Vittorio, the plague doctor, was a key player, and the letter could be a breakthrough. He found Carlo, who reported no one had approached the handkerchief. "Good," Poirot said. "We must find Vittorio now. He holds answers." They moved toward the East Wing, where gilded doors led to a lavish salon. Inside, Vittorio stood by a fireplace, his beak mask removed to reveal a gaunt, hawkish face. He was counting gold coins, oblivious to their approach. "Signore Vittorio," Poirot called. "A word about your dealings with Lorenzo and a certain letter." Vittorio's hand froze mid-count, his eyes narrowing. "You're out of your depth, detective. Lorenzo was a fool crossing our associates. The letter? A business matter, nothing more." His evasiveness confirmed Poirot's suspicions. Vittorio was neck-deep in the conspiracy. Before he could probe further, a servant rushed in, pale and stammering. "Another body, signore. In the west wing, a man in a jester's mask." The crowd's murmurs reached them, panic rising anew. Poirot cursed under his breath. 3 deaths in one night. This carnival was a killing ground. Leaving Vittorio, Poirot led Elena and Carlo to the west wing, where a small crowd gathered around the jester-masked man. It was the same portly guest Poirot had spoken to earlier, now lifeless, foam at his lips. "Aconite, again." A note protruded from his pocket, scrawled in hasty ink. "The dance claims its dues." Poirot's jaw tightened. The host's words, "dancing with death," echoed in this grim message. He examined the scene, noting a crushed glass nearby, its rims smeared with green residue. The killer was growing bolder or desperate. "This is no random slaughter," Poirot murmured. "There is a pattern, a purpose." He turned to Eleanor and Carlo. "We must find the host. He is the linchpin." But the palazzo was vast, its corridors a maze. Poirot recalled the balcony, the glove, the emblem. The host was orchestrating this, but why? Was it vengeance, greed, or something more twisted? As they moved back to the courtyard, Poirot spotted Dr. Grimaldi, the silver wolf, lingering near a tent, watching them. His case was gone, replaced by a smug expression. Poirot's instincts screamed. Grimaldi knew more than he admitted. The night was a tightening noose, and Poirot was determined to cut it before another life was claimed. The orchestra played on, a haunting refrain, as Poirot prepared his next move. The host, Vittorio, Sophia, Grimaldi, each was a thread in this deadly tapestry. He would pull them all, unraveling the truth before the Black Carnival claimed its next victim. Chapter 4. The Locked Room. The Black Carnival's macabre rhythm pulsed on, but Hercule Poirot felt the weight of 3 deaths pressing against his resolve. The courtyard, once a stage for revelry, now felt like a chessboard where every move could be fatal. Elena Rossi clung to Carlo's arm, her eyes darting nervously as masked figures whispered and stared. Poirot's mind churned, piecing together the threads. Dr. Grimaldi's vials, Vittorio's coins, Sophia's letter, and the host's elusive shadow. The note found on the jester's body, "The dance claims its dues," echoed like a taunt. "We must find the host," Poirot said firmly, leading Eleanor and Carlo toward the palazzo's upper floors. "He pulls the strings of this deadly puppet show." They ascended a grand staircase, its marble steps worn by centuries, flanked by portraits of Venetian nobility, whose eyes seemed to follow their every step. The air grew colder, the music below fading into a distant hum. Poirot's destination was the locked door he'd encountered earlier, where the silver wolf, Dr. Grimaldi, had vanished. The scratches on the lock suggested a secret worth hiding, and Poirot's instincts told him the host might be close. At the corridor's end, the heavy oak door loomed, its iron hinges rusted but unyielding. Poirot examined it, noting a faint draught seeping through the keyhole. "Something lies beyond," he murmured, producing a small tool from his pocket. A gentleman's lockpick, discreetly carried for such occasions. With deft precision, Poirot worked the lock, the click echoing like a gunshot in the silent hall. The door creaked open, revealing a circular chamber lit by a single chandelier, its candles casting eerie shadows. The room was opulent yet unsettling, with velvet drapes, a mahogany desk, and a large mirror reflecting distorted images. On the desk lay a ledger, its pages filled with cryptic entries. Names, dates, sums, and the recurring dancing skeleton emblem. "This is no mere carnival ledger," Poirot said, scanning the pages. Names he recognized, Lorenzo, Isabella, the jester, were listed alongside sums marked debt or penalty. Elena gasped, pointing to her father's name, followed by a chilling note. Compromised. Black Carnival payment due. Before Poirot could delve deeper, a soft thud came from behind the mirror. He motioned for silence, approaching cautiously. The mirror was a hidden door, slightly ajar, revealing a narrow passage. "Stay here," he whispered to Elena and Carlo, stepping into the dark. The passage led to a smaller room, a private study cluttered with papers, maps, and a single chair facing a barred window overlooking the lagoon. In the chair sat a figure, cloaked and hooded, the host. "Monsieur," Poirot said sharply, "your carnival has become a graveyard. Hercule Poirot demands answers." The host turned slowly, his face still obscured, but his voice was calm, almost amused. "You're persistent, detective, but you chase shadows in a house of mirrors." Poirot stepped closer, undeterred. "3 are dead, poisoned by aconite. Your emblem brands this carnage. Who are you and why this slaughter?" The host chuckled, rising. "Not slaughter, justice. Those who died betrayed trusts, broke oaths. The Black Carnival settles scores." He gestured to the papers. Contracts, smuggling routes, names of Venice's elite. "Lorenzo stole from our syndicate. Isabella leaked our plans. The jester spied for a rival. Their debts were paid in death." Poirot's mind raced. A syndicate, smuggling, blackmail, murder. But the host's vague answers hid more. "And Elena Rossi? Her father's debt threatens her life. Is she next?" The host's silence was answer enough. Before Poirot could press, a creak from the passage alerted them. The host bolted, slipping through a side door that slammed shut. Poirot pursued but found it locked, the sound of retreating footsteps fading. Cursing his delay, he returned to the study, memorizing the paper's details. Routes through the Adriatic, coded names, a shipment due at dawn. Back in the circular chamber, Elena and Carlo were frantic. "We heard voices," Carlo said. "Then someone ran past the door." Poirot calmed them, explaining his encounter. "The host is no phantom. He is a man, and he will be found. But we must protect you, Elena." He led them back to the courtyard, where the revelry had thinned, guests whispering of the latest death. Poirot sought Vittorio, the plague doctor, suspecting his role in the syndicate. He found him near a tent, arguing with Sophia, whose silver gown was now stained with wine, her mask askew. "You promised me safety," she hissed. Vittorio grabbed her arm. "Quiet or you'll join them," Poirot intervened, his voice cutting through. "Signore Vittorio, Mademoiselle Sophia, your secrets unravel. The ledger upstairs names you both. Smugglers, yes? And murderers." Vittorio's face paled, but he sneered. "You have no proof, detective. That ledger means nothing without the host." Sophia, trembling, broke free. "I didn't kill anyone. I only carried messages." She fled into the crowd, leaving Vittorio to face Poirot's scrutiny. "The letter you gave her," Poirot pressed. "It names the host, does it not?" Vittorio's silence confirmed it. A sudden commotion interrupted. Shouts from the lagoon's edge. Poirot, Elena, and Carlo rushed over, finding a gondola adrift. Its oarsman slumped, foam at his lips. Another aconite victim. A crowd gathered, and Poirot spotted Dr. Grimaldi nearby, his silver wolf mask glinting. "Always near death, Doctor," Poirot called out. Grimaldi shrugged. "I'm a physician. I go where I'm needed." But his eyes betrayed unease. Poirot noted a crumpled paper in Grimaldi's hand, identical to the ledger's parchment. The web was tightening, but the host remained a shadow. Elena whispered, "Monsieur Poirot, I found this in my pocket." She handed him a note, scrawled in the same hand as the jester's. "Leave, or dance with death." Poirot's jaw clenched. The host was targeting her, escalating the game. He scanned the crowd, spotting a figure in a black cloak slipping toward the palazzo's rear. "The host," he murmured. "We must follow." but carefully. The night was far from over, and the Black Carnival's secrets were buried deep, waiting to be unearthed. Chapter 5. The shadows trail, the Black Carnival's sinister pulse throbbed through the night, each death tightening the noose around Hercule Poirot's investigation. The latest note in Elena's pocket, "Leave, or dance with death," burned in his mind as he led her and Carlo through the thinning crowd, toward the palazzo's rear where the cloaked figure, likely the host, had vanished. The air was heavy with salt and fear, the lagoon's dark waters lapping against the stone walls. Poirot's sharp eyes caught the flicker of a black cloak disappearing around a corner near a rusted gate leading to the docks. "Quickly, mes amis," he urged, his voice low but firm. "We must not lose him." Elena's breath hitched, but she nodded, clutching Carlo's hand as they followed. The gate creaked open to a narrow dock, where gondolas bobbed under a sliver of moonlight. The cloaked figure was boarding a small boat, its oarsman shrouded in shadow. Poirot gestured for silence, crouching behind a stack of crates. The host's voice carried faintly, speaking in rapid Italian to the oarsman. "The shipment must sail at dawn. No more delays." The boat glided into the fog, swallowed by the lagoon's embrace. Poirot cursed softly. This host was slippery as an eel. He turned to the crates, noticing one slightly ajar. Inside, nestled among straw, were sealed wooden boxes marked with the dancing skeleton emblem. "Contraband," Poirot murmured, his fingers tracing the emblem. "The heart of this carnival's darkness." He instructed Carlo to fetch a gondolier they could trust, while Elena kept watch. Moments later, Carlo returned with a wiry old man named Giorgio, whose weathered face bespoke years on the canals. "Signore, I know these waters," Giorgio said. "I can follow that boat, but it's dangerous. Smugglers use hidden routes." Poirot nodded. "Take us, but stay discreet." They piled into Giorgio's gondola, the craft cutting silently through the mist. The lagoon was a maze of channels, islands looming like spectres. Poirot's mind raced, connecting the host's words about a dawn shipment to the ledger's smuggling routes. Was this the motive for the murders? To silence those who threatened the operation? The gondola trailed faint ripples, leading to a small island with a crumbling warehouse. Poirot signaled Giorgio to stop short, and they disembarked, creeping toward the structure. Through a cracked window, Poirot glimpsed the host, now unhooded, but too far to identify, speaking with two figures, one in a plague doctor's mask, unmistakably Vittorio, and another whose silhouette matched Dr. Grimaldi's lean frame. They inspected crates identical to those at the dock, arguing heatedly. "Lorenzo's death was meant to be the last," Vittorio snapped. "Now we're exposed." The host's voice was cold. "Then clean the mess, or you'll join them." Grimaldi remained silent, his hands fidgeting with a vial. Poirot whispered to Eleanor and Carlo, "We have stumbled upon their lair." "Stay hidden." He edged closer, straining to hear more, but a twig snapped under Carlo's foot. The men inside froze, then scattered. The host vanished through a back door, while Vittorio and Grimaldi bolted toward the water. Poirot gave chase, but Grimaldi was faster, leaping into a waiting boat that sped off. Vittorio, less agile, stumbled on the rocky shore. Poirot seized the moment, grabbing his arm. "Signore Vittorio, your syndicate crumbles. Name the host or face justice alone." Vittorio's gaunt face twisted with defiance. "You'll get nothing from me, detective. The host is untouchable." He broke free, diving into the lagoon's icy waters. Poirot didn't pursue. Vittorio's escape was temporary. He returned to the warehouse where Eleanor and Carlo waited, wide-eyed. Inside, Poirot examined the crates, finding bottles labelled as rare wine, but reeking of chemicals. Likely opium or worse, disguised for smuggling. A discarded paper caught his eye. A manifest listing the same names from the ledger, with one addition. Rossi, final payment due. Elena's father again. "They want him silenced," Eleanor whispered, her voice trembling. Poirot's grey cells worked furiously. The host was orchestrating a smuggling ring, using the Black Carnival as a front to settle scores and protect the operation. The murders targeted betrayers, but Elena's presence suggested her father's debt was personal. "We must return to the palazzo," Poirot said. "Answers lie there, and we must protect you, mademoiselle." Giorgio rode them back, his face grim. "This island's cursed," he muttered. "Smugglers have used it for years. People disappear here." Back at the palazzo, the carnival had grown frenetic, as if the guests sensed the end nearing. Poirot sought Sophia, hoping her letter held the host's identity. He found her near the fountain, her silver gown tattered, her mask gone. She looked haunted, clutching the letter. "Mademoiselle Sophia," Poirot said gently, "your fear betrays you. That letter, give it to me, and I can protect you." She hesitated, then handed it over, tears in her eyes. "It's from the host. He ordered me to warn Lorenzo, but I failed. Now he'll kill me too." The letter, sealed with the skeleton emblem, named the host, Conte Alessandro di Moro, a Venetian noble, long thought dead after a scandal. Poirot's pulse quickened. This was the breakthrough. "Where is he now?" he pressed. Sophia pointed to the palazzo's tower, its spire piercing the fog. "He watches from there, always." Poirot thanked her, urging her to stay with Carlo and Elena. As he moved toward the tower, a scream echoed from the courtyard. Another body, a servant, slumped near the absinthe bar, foam at his lips. Aconite again. Poirot's resolve hardened. The host, Conte Alessandro, was a phantom no longer. The tower loomed ahead, its spiral staircase a path to confrontation. "Stay close, but safe," he told Elena and Carlo. "This ends tonight." The night's horrors were converging, and Poirot knew the next move would unmask the killer, or claim another life. Chapter 6. The tower's secret, the Black Carnival's deadly dance, spun ever faster. Its shadows closing in as Hercule Poirot ascended the spiral staircase to the palazzo's tower, the name Conte Alessandro di Moro burning in his mind. Elena and Carlo followed, their footsteps soft but tense on the worn stone steps. The air grew thin, laced with the scent of wax and old wood, as if the tower itself held its breath. Poirot's heart pounded, not from exertion, but from the certainty that the host, the mastermind of this murderous spectacle, awaited above. "Courage, mes amis," he whispered, his hand grazing the cold iron railing. "We are close to the truth, but danger is closer still." The staircase ended at a heavy door, its wood carved with the now familiar dancing skeleton emblem. Poirot tested the handle. Unlocked, a trap or an invitation. He pushed it open, revealing a circular chamber bathed in moonlight, streaming through a single arched window. The room was sparse. A desk strewn with papers, a velvet chair, and a wall of shelves, holding ancient books and vials glinting with menace. At the far end stood Conte Alessandro di Moro, his cloak discarded, revealing a tall, gaunt figure in a tailored black suit. His face, unmasked, was sharp and aristocratic, with eyes like cold steel. "Monsieur Poirot," he said, his voice smooth as venom, "you've climbed into the lion's den." Poirot stood firm, his gaze unwavering. "Conte Alessandro, your carnival is a masquerade of murder. Lorenzo, Isabella, the jester, the gondolier, the servant, all dead by aconite, all tied to your syndicate. Why?" Alessandro's lips curled into a faint smile. "You see much, but not all. These were not random killings. They were justice. Each betrayed me, threatened my empire." He gestured to the papers, maps of smuggling routes, lists of debts, coded messages. "Venice thrives on secrets, detective. I merely ensure they stay buried." Elena stepped forward, her voice trembling but defiant. "And my father? His name is in your ledger. Is he next?" Alessandro's eyes flickered to her, a predator sizing up prey. "Your father, Signorina Rossi, stole from me. A fortune in smuggled goods. His debt is unpaid, and you were bait to draw him here." Poirot's mind raced. Eleanor was a pawn, her presence a lure. He glanced at Carlo, whose face betrayed fear but also something else. Guilt? "Monsieur Carlo," Poirot said sharply, "you knew of this trap." Carlo flinched, stammering, "I only wanted to protect her. I didn't know it would come to this." Before Poirot could probe, a shadow moved in the corner. Dr. Grimaldi, the silver wolf, emerged, a syringe in hand. "Enough talk," he snarled. "You've seen too much, Poirot." Alessandro raised a hand, stopping him. "Patience, Matteo. The detective's curiosity is his cage." Poirot's hand slipped to his pocket, where his lockpick doubled as a makeshift weapon. "You underestimate me, Conte. Your empire crumbles, Vittorio flees, Sophia betrays you, and your poison is exposed. Surrender now, or the authorities will drag you from this tower." Alessandro laughed, a chilling sound. "Authorities? They're bought, detective. This carnival is my court, and I am its king." He reached for a vial on the desk, but Poirot was faster, lunging forward and knocking it to the floor. The glass shattered, releasing a faint, acrid scent. Aconite. Grimaldi charged, syringe raised, but Carlo tackled him, the two grappling in a frenzy. Elena screamed, diving behind the desk. Poirot seized the moment, grabbing a heavy candlestick and striking Alessandro's wrist as he drew a concealed dagger. The blade clattered to the ground, and Alessandro staggered, his composure cracking. "Fool," Alessandro hissed, backing toward the window. "You can't stop the shipment, it sails at dawn." He flung open a hidden panel in the wall, revealing a narrow ladder descending into darkness. Poirot lunged, but Alessandro was gone, the panel slamming shut. Grimaldi, pinned by Carlo, spat curses until Poirot disarmed him, pocketing the syringe. "You, Doctor, will answer for your role," Poirot said, binding Grimaldi's wrists with a cord from the curtains. Carlo, panting, looked to Poirot. "I didn't know he'd use her like this," he confessed. "I thought I could negotiate with him." Eleanor emerged, tears streaking her face. "My father, he's coming here tonight, isn't he?" Poirot nodded grimly, the ledger's entries clear. "We must find him before Alessandro does." He searched the desk, finding a map marked with a dock near the palazzo, the shipment's departure point. The papers also revealed Alessandro's true motive, a fortune in opium, hidden in wine bottles, bound for distant ports. The murders were to silence anyone who knew too much, but Elena's father was the final target, his betrayal the deepest. A distant bell tolled. 4 o'clock. Dawn was near, and with it the shipment's departure. Poirot led Elena and Carlo down the tower, Grimaldi in tow, his protests ignored. In the courtyard, the carnival had dwindled to a few stragglers, the orchestra silent. Sophia approached, her face ashen. "I saw Vittorio, he's heading to the docks," she whispered. Poirot nodded, piecing it together. Vittorio, Alessandro, and the shipment were converging. "We go now," he said, his voice steel. "The final act of this carnival awaits." As they hurried toward the docks, the fog thickened, cloaking Venice in a ghostly veil. Poirot's mind churned. Conte Alessandro was no mere criminal, but a puppeteer of death, and the night's final confrontation loomed. The Black Carnival's secrets were unraveling, but the cost was mounting, and Poirot knew one misstep could end it all. Chapter 7. The Dockside Ambush. The fog over Venice thickened as Hercule Poirot, Elena Rossi, and Carlo hurried toward the docks. Dr. Grimaldi stumbling behind with his wrists bound. The Black Carnival's deadly web was unraveling, but Conte Alessandro di Moro remained a step ahead, his opium shipment poised to sail at dawn. The palazzo's eerie glow faded behind them, replaced by the damp chill of the lagoon and the creak of moored gondolas. Poirot's mind raced, piecing together the night's horrors. 5 deaths by aconite, a smuggling syndicate, and Elena's father as the final target. "We must reach the dock before Alessandro," Poirot said, his voice steady despite the urgency. "He will not hesitate to kill again." The dock was a maze of crates and ropes, shrouded in mist. Giorgio, their gondolier, waited nearby, his boat ready. "The smuggling dock is just ahead," he whispered, pointing to a pier where lanterns flickered faintly. Poirot scanned the shadows, spotting movement. A figure in a plague doctor's mask, Vittorio, loading crates onto a sleek boat. "There," Poirot murmured, gesturing for Elena and Carlo to stay low. He approached cautiously, dragging Grimaldi along. "Signore Vittorio," he called softly, "your flight ends here." "Where is Conte Alessandro?" Vittorio froze, his beak mask glinting. "You're too late, Poirot. The shipment's leaving, and so am I." Before Poirot could respond, a gunshot cracked through the fog. Vittorio staggered, clutching his chest, and collapsed onto the pier. The crowd of dockhands scattered, shouting. Poirot ducked behind a crate, pulling Elena and Carlo with him. Grimaldi, panicked, tried to bolt, but Poirot yanked him back. "Stay, doctor, or you share Vittorio's fate." From the mist, Conte Alessandro emerged, a pistol in hand, his aristocratic face twisted with rage. "You've meddled enough, detective," he snarled. "This ends now." Behind him stood a burly man in a sailor's coat, likely the shooter, guarding a boat piled with crates. Poirot's grey cells worked furiously. Alessandro's desperation suggested the shipment was his last stand. "Conte, your empire is finished," Poirot said, stepping into the open, hands raised but voice firm. "Vittorio is dead, Grimaldi captured, Sophia has betrayed you. Surrender and you may yet live." Alessandro laughed, a bitter edge to it. "Live? In a cell? No, Poirot. This cargo is my legacy." He aimed the pistol, but a shout interrupted. Elena's father, Signor Rossi, emerged from the fog, his face haggard. "Alessandro, stop! I'll pay what I owe," Elena gasped, breaking cover. "Father!" Alessandro's eyes gleamed, seizing the moment. He grabbed Elena, pressing the pistol to her temple. "Rossi, you stole my fortune, ruined my name. Your daughter pays the price." Carlo lunged, but the sailor knocked him down with a swift blow. Poirot, calm under pressure, stepped closer. "Conte, release her. Your quarrel is with Rossi, not an innocent." Alessandro sneered. "Innocent? She's a Rossi, guilty by blood." Poirot's gaze flicked to Grimaldi, who cowered nearby. "Doctor, you carry aconite. Use it now, and you may bargain for freedom." Grimaldi, trembling, hesitated, then slipped a vial from his sleeve, tossing it toward Alessandro's feet. It shattered, releasing a faint vapor. Alessandro coughed, loosening his grip on Eleanor, who broke free and ran to her father. The sailor, confused, aimed at Poirot, but Giorgio, silent until now, swung an oar, knocking the man into the water. Alessandro, recovering, fired wildly, the bullet grazing Poirot's shoulder. Pain flared, but Poirot didn't falter. Seizing the moment, Poirot tackled Alessandro, wrestling the pistol free. Carlo, back on his feet, helped pin the Conte down. "It is over," Poirot panted, binding Alessandro's wrists with a rope from the dock. The fog began to lift, revealing the boat's cargo, crates of opium, as expected. Rossi, holding Elena, confessed in a broken voice. "I took his gold to save my business. I didn't know it would come to this," Elena sobbed, clinging to him while Carlo looked away, guilt etched on his face. Poirot, ignoring his wound, searched Alessandro's coat, finding a final note. "The Black Carnival claims all debts." It was signed with the skeleton emblem, tying him to every murder. Grimaldi, now cooperative, admitted to supplying the aconite under Alessandro's orders, believing it was for business rivals. The sailor, hauled from the water by Giorgio, confirmed Alessandro's syndicate had ruled Venice's underworld for years, using the carnival to eliminate threats. As dawn broke, painting the sky crimson, Poirot summoned the authorities, those not bought by Alessandro. The Conte, Grimaldi, and the sailor were taken into custody, the opium seized. Elena and Rossi embraced, safe but shaken. Carlo, quieter now, admitted he'd known of Rossi's debt, but thought he could broker peace. "I failed you, Elena," he said. Poirot, wrapping his shoulder with a handkerchief, shook his head. You acted from loyalty, monsieur, but loyalty must be tempered with wisdom. The Black Carnival was over, its deadly dance ended. Poirot gazed at the lagoon, the rising sun banishing the night's terrors. Yet one question lingered. Had Alessandro acted alone, or were there others in the shadows? The answer would wait, for now Venice needed to heal. Chapter 8. The Echoes of Betrayal. The first rays of dawn pierced the Venetian fog, casting a pale glow over the docks where Hercule Poirot stood, his shoulder throbbing but his resolve unshaken. Conte Alessandro di Moro, Dr. Grimaldi and the sailor were in custody, their smuggling operation exposed, yet Poirot's little grey cells buzzed with unease. The Black Carnival's body count, 5 lives snuffed out by aconite, felt too neatly resolved. Alessandro's note, "The Black Carnival claims all debts," hinted at a deeper conspiracy, one that might stretch beyond the Conte's reach. Elena Rossi, clinging to her father, looked to Poirot with weary gratitude, while Carlo stood apart, his guilt a silent shadow. "We return to the palazzo," Poirot declared. "There are threads yet to unravel." The gondola ride back was sombre, Giorgio's oars cutting through the water with a rhythmic thud. The palazzo loomed, its grandeur now tarnished by death. The courtyard was nearly deserted, the last revellers fleeing as word of the arrests spread. Poirot led Elena, her father Signor Rossi, and Carlo inside, seeking the circular chamber where he'd found the ledger. "The truth lies in the details," he murmured, climbing the grand staircase. The chamber was as they'd left it, desks strewn with papers, the dancing skeleton emblem glaring from every page. Poirot rifled through the documents, finding a new clue. A letter addressed to Alessandro, unsigned but written in a precise hand, warning of a traitor within the syndicate. "This changes everything," Poirot said, his eyes narrowing. "Someone betrayed Alessandro from within, sparking this chain of murders." Signor Rossi, his face lined with regret, spoke up. "I stole from Alessandro, yes, but I wasn't alone. Another partner turned on him first, leaking his roots to a rival syndicate in Naples." Elena gasped. "Who, father?" Rossi shook his head. "I never knew their name, only that Alessandro blamed me for everything." Poirot's mind raced. The traitor could still be here, hiding among the Carnival's remnants. He turned to Carlo, whose silence had grown conspicuous. "Monsieur Carlo, you knew of Rossi's debt and Alessandro's trap. What else do you know?" Carlo's eyes darted, his voice unsteady. "I swear, I only wanted to protect Elena. I heard rumours of a traitor, but nothing more." Poirot's gaze pierced him, sensing half-truths. Before he could press, a faint noise, a scuffle, came from the hallway. Poirot motioned for silence, creeping toward the door. Peering out, he saw Sophia, her silver gown tattered, slipping into an adjacent room, a small blade glinting in her hand. Poirot followed, signalling the others to stay back. The room was a small library, its shelves heavy with dusty tomes. Sophia stood over a hidden safe, frantically working its lock. "Mademoiselle Sophia," Poirot said softly, startling her. The blade dropped, and she spun, her face a mask of fear. "I'm not the traitor," she cried. "I took messages for Alessandro, but I didn't kill anyone." Poirot stepped closer, his voice calm but firm. "Then why the blade? And what is in that safe?" Sophia's hands trembled. "It's proof, documents naming the real traitor. Alessandro forced me to hide them, but I'm done protecting him." She opened the safe, revealing a bundle of letters tied with black ribbon. Poirot scanned them, his heart quickening. They detailed a plot by a syndicate member named Lupo to sell Alessandro's routes to Naples, triggering his vengeful spree. "Lupo," Poirot mused. "The wolf!" His thoughts flashed to Dr. Grimaldi, the silver wolf, but he was in custody. Could there be another? Sophia, reading his expression, whispered, "Lupo isn't Grimaldi. It's someone closer, someone you've trusted." Her eyes flicked toward the door, where Carlo's shadow lingered. Poirot's suspicions crystallized. "Monsieur Carlo," he called, stepping into the hallway. Carlo froze, his face pale. "You are Lupo, are you not? You betrayed Alessandro, and now you hide behind loyalty to Elena." Carlo's jaw clenched, but he didn't deny it. "I had no choice," he spat. "Alessandro's greed was ruining us all. I leaked his roots to save my family's trade." Elena, overhearing, staggered back, her voice breaking. "Carlo, you brought this on us?" Rossi grabbed his nephew, fury in his eyes, but Poirot intervened. "Enough! He will face justice, but not here." Before Carlo could flee, a new sound echoed. A low groan from below. Poirot rushed to the staircase, peering into the courtyard. A figure lay crumpled near the fountain. Marco, the nervous servant who'd served Lorenzo's poisoned drink. Poirot descended, finding Marco alive but barely, his lips tinged with green. Aconite, but a non-lethal dose. "Who did this?" Poirot demanded. Marco's voice was a rasp. "A woman in a red mask," she said. "The carnival isn't over." Poirot's blood ran cold. Isabella, the woman in the red gown, was dead. Or was she? Had someone assumed her identity? He turned to Sophia, who'd followed. "This red-masked woman, do you know her?" Sophia shook her head, terrified. "I thought Isabella was dead." Poirot's mind whirled. A new player, or a ghost from the carnival's shadows. He instructed Rossi to guard Marco and sent Giorgio for a doctor. To Elena, he said, "Mademoiselle, stay with your father. Carlo, you remain under my watch." The palazzo felt alive with menace, its secrets still unfolding. The traitor Lupo was unmasked, but this red-masked woman suggested Alessandro hadn't acted alone. The Black Carnival's final act was yet to come, and Poirot sensed the true mastermind lurked just out of reach. Chapter 9. The Red Mask's Gambit. The palazzo's air grew heavier, as if the walls themselves exhaled the Black Carnival's lingering malice. Hercule Poirot stood in the courtyard, the faint groans of Marco, the poisoned servant, echoing in his ears. The revelation of Carlo as Lupo, the traitor who sparked Conte Alessandro's murderous spree, had shaken Elena and her father, Signor Rossi. Yet Marco's whispered clue, a woman in a red mask, cast a new shadow. Isabella Moretti was dead, her body found hours ago. So who now wore her guise? Poirot's grey cells churned, sensing the true orchestrator of the carnival's horrors was still at large. "We must find this red-masked woman," he said, his voice cutting through the morning mist. "She holds the final piece of this puzzle." Poirot led Elena, Rossi, and a subdued Carlo back into the palazzo's depths, leaving Giorgio to tend to Marco until help arrived. Sophia, trembling but resolute, followed, clutching the bundle of letters that named Carlo as Lupo. The courtyard was nearly empty. The last stragglers of the carnival vanished into the dawn. Poirot's eyes scanned the shadows, landing on a flicker of red near a side entrance. A woman in a crimson gown, her mask identical to Isabella's, slipping into a corridor. "There!" he whispered, motioning for the others to follow quietly. The chase was on, their footsteps muffled by the palazzo's thick rugs. The corridor twisted into a maze of narrow passages lined with faded tapestries depicting Venice's dark history. The red-masked woman moved swiftly, her gown trailing like blood. Poirot, despite his wounded shoulder, kept pace, his mind racing. Was this an impostor, or had Isabella somehow survived? The passage opened into a grand ballroom, its chandeliers dim, mirrors reflecting fractured light. The woman stopped in the center, turning to face them. Her mask concealed her features, but her posture was defiant. "You're persistent, Monsieur Poirot," she said, her voice low and unfamiliar. "But you're chasing ghosts!" Poirot stepped forward, his tone calm but commanding. "Remove your mask, madame. Isabella Moretti is dead, yet you wear her face. Who are you? And why do you poison Marco?" The woman laughed, a chilling sound. "Marco was a warning detective. The Black Carnival isn't Alessandro's alone. It belongs to those who weave its shadows. She reached into her gown, producing a small vial. Aconite, unmistakably. Elena gasped, clinging to her father, while Carlo's eyes widened, as if recognizing her voice. Before Poirot could act, Sophia lunged, knocking the vial from the woman's hand. It shattered on the marble floor, the acrid scent rising. The woman hissed, drawing a slender dagger, but Poirot was ready, wielding his candlestick from the tower. He parried her strike, the metal clanging as Rossi pulled Elena back. Carlo, seizing the moment, tackled the woman, pinning her arms. "Enough!" Poirot barked, ripping off her mask. The face revealed was striking. Sharp cheekbones, dark eyes blazing with fury. "Signora Claudia di Moro," Rossi gasped. "Alessandro's sister." Claudia's lips curled into a sneer. "Well done, detective. You've unmasked me, but you're too late." Poirot's mind clicked. Claudia, thought dead alongside her brother after their family's scandal, had orchestrated the carnival's deadliest acts. "You were the true puppeteer," he said. "Alessandro was your tool, eliminating threats while you pulled the strings." Claudia laughed bitterly. "My brother was weak, consumed by pride. I built this syndicate, and when Lorenzo, Isabella, and the others betrayed us, I ensured their silence. The carnival was my stage." Poirot pressed, his voice like steel. "And Marco? Why poison him?" Claudia's eyes gleamed. "He overheard my plans, saw me replace Isabella's body with a decoy. I couldn't let him talk." Sophia, trembling, spoke up. "You used me to deliver your messages, didn't you? I thought I was helping Alessandro." Claudia's smile was cold. "You were useful, Sophia, until you weren't." Poirot's gaze hardened. "And Elena? Her father's debt, was that your bait?" Claudia nodded. "Rossi's theft cost us millions. I lured him here, using Elena to end him." Rossi, pale, stepped forward. "I'll pay it back, Claudia. Spare my daughter." Claudia's dagger twitched, but Carlo tightened his grip. Poirot seized the moment, binding her wrists with a sash from a nearby curtain. "Your carnival is over, signora. The authorities will hear of your crimes." Claudia's defiance faltered as footsteps echoed. Guards, summoned by Giorgio, stormed the ballroom. They seized Claudia, her curses ringing out as they dragged her away. Elena collapsed into her father's arms, sobbing. Carlo, released from his role in the struggle, hung his head. "I didn't know she was behind it," he murmured. Poirot nodded, his expression softening. "You betrayed Alessandro, monsieur, but you helped stop Claudia. Redemption begins here." He turned to Sophia, who clutched the letters. "Your courage, mademoiselle, exposed the truth. You are free of her now." As the guards secured the scene, Poirot examined the ballroom, finding a hidden panel behind a mirror. It concealed a cache of documents, proof of Claudia's control over the syndicate, her orders for the murders, and plans for more. The Black Carnival, it seemed, was her creation. Alessandro merely a figurehead. The sun rose higher, bathing Venice in light, but Poirot's work wasn't done. One final reckoning awaited, tying up the last threads of this deadly dance. Chapter 10. The Final Unmasking. The Palazzo's grand ballroom still hummed with the echoes of betrayal and bloodshed. Hercule Poirot stood amidst the chaos, his wounded shoulder aching as he surveyed the scene. Claudia di Moro in custody, her venomous gaze fixed on him, while Elena Rossi clung to her father. Signor Rossi and Carlo stood apart, his role as Lupo exposed. The documents from Claudia's hidden cache lay scattered across the floor, a testament to her reign over the syndicate. Yet Poirot's little grey cells buzzed with unease. Had every secret been unearthed, or did the carnival conceal one last twist? "Mes amis," he said, his voice steady, "we gather now to end this dance with death." Poirot motioned for the guards to secure Claudia tightly. Then gathered Elena, Rossi, Carlo, and Sophia near the ballroom's centre. The morning sun streamed through cracked windows, casting stark light on the mirrors that reflected their weary faces. "The Black Carnival," Poirot began, was no mere festivity. It was a meticulously crafted stage for vengeance, orchestrated by Signora Claudia di Moro, with her brother Alessandro as her pawn. He held up the documents, their pages detailing smuggling routes, murder orders, and debts marked with the dancing skeleton emblem. But let us unravel the full truth, for clarity is justice. He turned to Claudia, who sneered but remained silent. Signora, you built a syndicate on opium and greed, using the Carnival to eliminate those who threatened your empire. Lorenzo stole from you. Isabella leaked your plans. The jester spied for rivals. The gondolier knew your routes, and the servant Marco overheard your schemes. Each was poisoned with aconite, a death you planned with precision. Claudia's eyes flickered, but she didn't deny it. Poirot continued. You faked Isabella's death, using a decoy to confuse us, and wore her red mask to sow fear. But your greatest ploy was using Elena as bait to lure Signor Rossi, whose theft of your gold sparked your wrath. Rossi bowed his head, his voice hoarse. I took the gold to save my business, not knowing it would cost so many lives. Eleanor, tears in her eyes, squeezed his hand. Poirot turned to Carlo. And you, Monsieur Carlo, as Lupo, betrayed Claudia by selling her routes to Naples, hoping to save your family's trade. Your actions ignited her killing spree, though you didn't wield the poison. Carlo nodded, guilt etched deep. I thought I could outsmart her, he whispered. Poirot's gaze shifted to Sophia, who clutched the letters that exposed Lupo. Mademoiselle Sophia, you were Claudia's unwitting pawn, delivering messages under duress. Your courage in revealing the safe's contents unmasked the true traitor. Sophia's lips trembled. I didn't know the full scope of her evil, she said. Poirot nodded, then turned to the final piece. Marco, now recovering under a doctor's care, had been poisoned to silence his knowledge of Claudia's deception. But Poirot's instincts nagged. A deeper truth lingered. He picked up a letter from the cache, its ink fresher than the others, addressed to Claudia but unsigned. It read, The Carnival serves us both. Eliminate Rossi, and our debt is settled. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Signora Claudia, you did not act alone. Another shadow funded your syndicate, someone who profited from your murders. Claudia's defiance cracked, her voice a hiss. You'll never find them. They're beyond your reach, detective. Poirot stepped closer, his voice like steel. Non, madame. The truth is never beyond Hercule Poirot. He examined the letter's paper, noting its watermark. A rare Venetian crest, used by only one family. The Bellinis, a reclusive dynasty with ties to Naples. The Bellinis, Poirot declared. They bankrolled your operation, using you to clear their path in the smuggling trade. When Rossi stole your gold, they demanded his death and you obliged, weaving the Carnival as your deadly net. Claudia's silence confirmed it. She was a puppet, too, for a greater power. He turned to the guards. Search the Bellini estate. You will find evidence of their involvement. Ledgers, correspondence, perhaps more aconite. The guards nodded, one dispatching a runner to the authorities. Poirot faced Elena and Rossi. Mademoiselle, monsieur, you are safe now. The syndicate is dismantled, its leaders exposed. Elena sobbed, embracing her father, while Carlo stepped forward, offering his wrists. I'll face my punishment, he said. Poirot shook his head. Your testimony against the Bellinis will serve justice better than chains. As the guards led Claudia away, her curses fading, Poirot gazed at the ballroom's mirrors, now reflecting only light. The black carnival was over, its secrets laid bare. Claudia's syndicate, Alessandro's vengeance, Carlo's betrayal, and the Bellini's hidden hand. Venice would heal, but its scars would linger. The dance with death is done, Poirot murmured, adjusting his coat despite the pain in his shoulder. He turned to the group, a faint smile breaking through. Let us leave this place of shadows and step into the light. The sun climbed higher, bathing the lagoon in gold. Poirot stepped outside, the weight of the night lifting. The Black Carnival had claimed its last victim, and Hercule Poirot had triumphed, his little grey cells victorious. For those watching this tale unfold, if you've been gripped by the mystery, please like and subscribe. Your support means the world to us. Comment below with your thoughts on the Black Carnival's deadly dance.